revealed, the chosen one who manifested divine healing. After 40 days of supernatural prayer. In the quaint village of Alderwood, the air seemed charged with whispers of hope and divine promise. Mary, the devoted church organist, bore an extraordinary burden. Her beloved husband John lay frail and weakened by a mysterious illness that left even the wisest doctors scratching their heads. Despair clawed at her heart like a relentless storm, yet she clung tightly to her faith. Inspired by her pastor's teachings on miracles, she resolved to embark on a transformative journey. 40 days of fervent, supernatural prayer. As the sun dipped behind the rolling hills, the church bell chimed, beckoning the villagers to gather. Mary's prayers flowed from her heart with a celestial intensity, each note of the organ reverberating in harmony with her cries to heaven. She invoked the patron saints, surrounded by the flickering glow of candles that danced in reverent anticipation. Miraculous healings echoed through the scriptures, swirling around her like vibrant autumn leaves in a gust. These stories fueled her unwavering faith. But shadows lurked in the corners of her mind. Family members implored her to accept reality, gently prodding her to open her eyes to the stark truth of medical agony. Doubt crept into her prayers, threatening to extinguish her divine ambition. Night after night she battled this inner darkness, lighting her home with persistent prayers, forming a bridge between flesh and the divine. One stormy night, thunder crackled like grace across the sky. As wind howled furiously, Mary sank to her knees, and in an unfathomable moment of divine intervention she was enveloped by a warm, radiant light. It illuminated her spirit, kindling a quiet certainty deep within her soul. Healing was on the horizon. But joy was fleeting, for John's health spiraled downward, leading her to wrestle with silent despair. Fear pulsed through her veins, yet flickers of hope glimmered like stars through the storm clouds. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the village, Mary's church community sensed her struggle. They gathered, hearts intertwined in earnest prayer, their collective voices rising like a unified tide. It was a tapestry woven with the threads of faith and hope. As they prayed, a tranquility enveloped Mary, assuring her that she was not alone. The prayers echoed through the village, a triumphant anthem rising to the heavens. One could almost feel the divine energy swirling, wrapping every believer in its tender embrace. Then as dawn broke with a mystical glow, a miracle unfolded before their eyes. John, weak but breathing, opened his eyes, sparkling with a light long thought extinguished. Mary gasped, her heart swelling with disbelief and gratitude. Clarity washed over her like the first rays of morning sun. This was not merely about restoring John's health. It was a sacred mission to reignite a flame of hope throughout Alderwood. But beneath the joy lingered a pressing question. Why had their faith endured such tribulation? As the village buzzed with awe, Mary felt an irresistible pull toward deeper truths. Beyond the horizon, a new journey lay in wait, promising to unveil the mysteries of divine purpose and the next sign of intervention. Mary stood by John's bedside, her heart a tapestry of joy and questions. Relief washed over her, yet a thread of uncertainty remained woven through her spirit. The villagers came to call, their faces glimmering with hope and reverence. Stories of the miracle spread like wildfire, igniting the faith of many. Each visit brought warmth and love, yet Mary held on to her wonder. "What next, Lord?" she whispered, glancing at John, who slept peacefully. The soft rhythm of his breath was a symphony of gratitude. She felt the shadows of doubt slip aside, but lingering in her soul was a thirst for understanding. Why had this trial come to them? What greater purpose lay in the waiting? As the days unfolded, Mary continued her prayer routine, though now it was infused with a new layer of intention. Each note of the organ, each whispered prayer, was a search for clarity. The church, once a sanctuary of desperation, transformed into a space humming with divine possibility. Then came a day, just 7 mornings after John's awakening, when the sun broke through the clouds, painting the village in golden hues. A stranger visited Alderwood, a humble traveler who walked alone, carrying nothing but a small satchel. Gossip rippled through the village as townsfolk speculated about the newcomer, drawn to him like moths to a flame. Who was he? What wisdom did he bring? Mary felt an inexplicable pull towards the stranger. She found him sitting beneath the old elm tree, blending into the quiet of the village. The light danced in his eyes as he welcomed her approach. "You seek answers," he said, his voice gentle yet firm. Mary nodded, feeling both seen and understood. "What if I told you," he continued, "that true healing goes beyond the body? What if the scars of suffering are pathways to grace?" His words resonated deep within her, echoing the prayers she had poured out each night. She had been praying for John's health, but perhaps her prayers needed to reach further. She held the stranger's gaze, searching for something profound within him. Was he sent by a higher call? That evening, Mary gathered her congregation. The church, once filled with plaintive echoes, was now alive with anticipation. They shared testimonies of hope and gratitude, igniting a spark of unity amongst them. In the middle of their meeting, the traveler rose to speak, sharing tales of divine workings witnessed in his journeys. His voice carried a soft urgency, like a river flowing through the hearts of all present. "Miracles happen for a reason," he proclaimed. "They challenge us to rise above our trials, to transform and share our faith." Each word stirred the hearts of the believers, sparking laughter, tears, and prayerful shouts of Amen. Yet, as the night deepened and the candles flickered low, Mary felt a burgeoning sense of responsibility blossom within her. Their miracle could ignite a fire of faith that spread far beyond timely healing. The struggles they had faced together were not just for them. What if their story could transform hearts across the land? The thought lingered like the scent of blooming jasmine, enticing her to explore the uncharted. That night she lay awake, dreaming of possibilities. The call for a greater purpose swelled in her spirit, but uncertainty shadowed her thoughts. What was she meant to do next? As she drifted into a restless sleep, a vision bloomed, of her sharing their testimony, of faith, healing, and the incredible journey still unfurling. What awaited her on this path of newfound purpose? Would she gather the strength to lead her village into a new awakening? The dawn of revelation awaited just beyond the horizon. The sun rose with a golden expanse, illuminating the village in hues of warmth, promising change. Mary woke from her sleep infused with a sense of divine light. Her heart raced with excitement, yet she felt the weight of the vision still clinging to her spirit. It was a calling, a nudge from deep within, urging her to step forward into the unknown. As the village buzzed with morning life, Mary prepared herself for the day ahead. She felt an urgency to articulate her thoughts, to shape the vision that had visited her in the night. It was time to gather her congregation once more, to share the calling that pulsed through her. That afternoon, the church bells rang clear and bright, calling the townsfolk to join her. The air thrummed with expectancy as faces turned towards her, some familiar, others drawn by the traveling teacher's stories of miracles. With each step to the front of the congregation, she felt the weight of purpose settle upon her shoulders. "Brothers and sisters," Mary began, her voice soft yet determined, "I stand before you brimming with joy and a fiery call to action. We've experienced a miracle in John, yes, but there's more." The congregation stirred, intrigued by her words. She continued, "What we witnessed was not merely a restoration of life. It is a spark, a divine invitation to embrace our own journey of faith. God's grace has touched us, urging us to rise, to share this light with others." The whispers of affirmation flowed through the crowd. "Amen," someone shouted. With fervor, Mary shared the vision, the calling for a larger purpose. She spoke of the trials they had faced, transforming them into testaments of hope and resilience. She explained how they could reach beyond their village, touching lives far and wide. kindling faith in hearts that hungered for healing and love. "Let our stories be the bridge for others," she implored. "Let us gather together not just for ourselves but to uplift those who feel lost in darkness. We can lead others to the light that found us." Cheers erupted, and the church seemed to hold its breath, caught in the whirlwind of belief. This was more than just a gathering, it was the dawning of a movement. Mary felt a sense of peace wash over her, mingled with the thrill of potential. After the service, villagers huddled in groups, discussing ways to reach out. Some contemplated visitations to nearby towns, sharing stories and prayers. Others contemplated starting a prayer circle right in the heart of Alderwood, inviting anyone who desired to seek healing and faith. But amidst the enthusiasm, Mary felt a pull towards the river that lay beyond the church grounds, a place of quiet reflection. She walked to the water's edge, listening to the soft flow as it swept past, glimmering in the sunset. With her heart laid bare, she prayed, asking for guidance. "Lord, how do you want us to spread this light?" The answer surged through her like a warm breeze, wrapping her in certainty. It was not just words that would heal, but actions, love, and unity. They were to demonstrate God's love through service, reaching out in kindness to the brokenhearted. Determined, she envisioned organizing a gathering, a day of healing, where they would share their faith and offer support to those in need. As she turned to leave, a shadow flickered at the edge of her vision. The stranger from days past watched her with knowing eyes. "Your journey has only just begun, Mary," he said, his voice enveloping her with warmth. "You will uncover depths of faith you never knew existed." Mary felt a spark of fear, laced with excitement. What truths lay ahead in this journey? What divine revelations awaited her and her village? With renewed strength, she returned to the village with a heart alight, knowing the path was unfolding, divinely orchestrated. The moment of something greater was approaching. How would they answer the call? The mystery of their awakening was woven into the fabric of their lives, waiting to be revealed. Would they have the courage to embrace their calling? The next morning, as dawn gently seeped into the village, Mary awoke with an invigorating resolve. The river's whisper had stirred something deep within her, igniting a fire that urged her forward. Today would be the day they began their mission, a day of healing and hope. After a hearty breakfast, she gathered her closest friends, Peter and Eliana, over cups of steaming tea. "We must plan the gathering," she said, a sparkle in her eyes. "It cannot just be an event. It must be an experience of God's love poured out among us. We are the vessels." Eliana nodded, her enthusiasm matched only by Mary's. Peter scratched his beard thoughtfully. "And we need to tell our stories, the testimonies of our lives transformed by grace. That's what will draw people in." Mary felt her heart swell. "Exactly. We can start right here in Alderwood, inviting everyone, those who believe and those who don't. All are welcome to witness the light that has changed us." With the morning sun shining brightly upon them, they sketched out their plan. They decided on a simple setup by the riverside, a spot that echoed with the soothing lull of water. They envisioned prayer stations, moments for sharing testimonies, and just a space for people to breathe in love, grace, and healing. Word began to spread, and by midday the energy in the village buzzed with anticipation. Children played near the riverbank, elders shared stories on porches, and the vibrancy of this divine purpose pulsed in the air. As the afternoon wore on, Mary felt a subtle stirring within her, a reminder that something significant awaited them on this journey. There was still work to be done. So many hearts carried burdens, some they may never know, yet she could sense them, a heaviness and longing that would soon meet love's embrace. On the eve of their gathering, she sat outside under a blanket of stars. The air was cool and a gentle breeze caressed her face. She reflected on the stranger's words from days past. "You will uncover depths of faith you never knew existed." What did that mean? She closed her eyes and prayed earnestly, seeking insight into her calling. "Lord, guide our steps. Help us to be the beacons you've called us to be. Show us how to reach the broken and lost." Suddenly she felt a warmth envelop her, deep and radiant. It was a peaceful assurance, like soft light dispersing darkness. In that moment, Mary experienced a vision. A woman stood before her, tired and weary. This woman appeared desperate for hope, and Mary's heart ached for her. "This is why we gather," she thought, an understanding washing over her. The following day arrived like a vibrant painting, strokes of color bursting from every corner. The riverside was adorned with flowers, hand-painted signs, and a makeshift altar where prayers would resonate. Villagers came together, their faces alive with promise, each one a unique story, a brushstroke in God's artwork. Mary felt a surge of excitement as she spoke to the crowd, inviting them to share their stories. "Let your voice be a light to others," she encouraged. And as prayers began to rise like sweet incense, Mary sensed that the stranger's prophecy was unfolding in real time. But just when the changing tide seemed potent, the wind picked up, rustling leaves in a way that sent shivers down her spine. A quiet voice echoed through her mind. This is just the beginning. What awaited them next would not only challenge their faith, but could potentially change the very fabric of their community. What miracles would emerge when faith met the urgency of love in action? Would each heart, each story, find the healing that awaited? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the gathering, Mary couldn't shake the feeling that the winds of change were about to blow in a way none of them had anticipated. And in that charged moment of prayer and expectation, one question lingered. How would they respond when the true test of faith came? The morning sun spilled gold across the sky, bathing the riverside gathering in warmth. Mary's heart danced with each passing moment. People had come, neighbors, friends, even strangers drawn by whispers of hope. The air vibrated with unspoken stories, and she could feel the sacred pulse of their shared yearning for something greater. As the first person stepped forward, Mary felt a hush blanket the crowd. It was Clara, the village seamstress. Her hands trembled, and tears gleamed in her eyes. She had faced great trials, suffering loss that felt insurmountable. "I have wandered in darkness," she began, her voice quivering, "but today I stand before you seeking light." A collective breath hung in the air. Clara shared how her heart had been stitched together through small acts of kindness from those around her. As she spoke, Mary sensed the chorus of empathy rising in the hearts of everyone present, warming the space around them with an undeniable sense of belonging. "Your courage is inspiring," Mary said, her voice steady. "You are not alone. We are here, not only to listen, but to love." Clara stepped down, and Mary gestured for Eliana to join her. Eliana's story flowed like a river, a tale of struggle and triumph, of faith amidst doubt. She had faced a battle with anxiety, and yet, through prayer, she found peace that washed over her like the waters of the river beside them. The crowd responded with murmurs of encouragement, waves of understanding passing among them like ripples. Each story unveiled opened layers of connection, revealing wounds and healing interconnected in the fabric of their community. Mary felt a stirring too, as if something new was awakening within her. She could almost see the threads of their collective lives weaving together, forming a tapestry rich with color and depth. But among the joy and healing, something else lingered, a shadow lurking at the edges of their gathering. As more shared their testimonies, the wind picked up again, swirling around them with a different energy, tinged with urgency. Mary knocked back the unease creeping into her heart. She couldn't help but remember the stranger's prophecy. Was this beginning, she sensed, tied to facing fear head-on? Then, with a voice steady and resolute, she turned to her friends. "Let's take a moment to pray for the weary souls among us." Together they led the gathering in prayer. Words poured forth, invoking love, mercy, and healing, not just for themselves but for the world outside their circle. The moment was pregnant with potential. As they bowed their heads, Mary felt an electric charge in the air. It was as if heaven drew near, bringing with it an aroma of liberation. She clutched Peter's hand, and when she dared to glance up, she saw Clara kneeling now, the weight of her burden lifting before their eyes. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Clara emerged, a lightness in her demeanor that hadn't been there before. "I feel free," she exclaimed, beaming as though 1,000 burdens were swept away by grace. Mary's heart expanded at this miracle, yet, with each ethereal moment, doubt crept in. Had they truly tapped into something divine? Was what they felt merely a fleeting glimpse of hope, or the start of something transformative? Strangely, she heard the still, small voice again. "This is just the beginning." What did that mean? The atmosphere crackled with expectancy. Another voice joined the chorus, an elder, known for wisdom and skepticism alike. "Miracles can happen, but only if we're willing to embrace them," he warned, gaze sharp yet softened by yearning. The crowd fell silent again, holding its breath. Mary felt her spirit rise. The true test lay ahead, the undeniable question lingering. Would they collectively embrace the rising tide of faith, ready to welcome the unexpected? A hush lingered in the air as anticipation settled heavily. As clouds gathered overhead, she wondered what storms would bring forth even greater revelations. How would they navigate this path toward healing and hope? Would they cultivate faith even in uncertainty? The answer awaited them on the horizon. The clouds overhead thickened, casting a shadow over the gathering, yet the hearts of the people shone brighter in light of the moment they were sharing. Mary looked around. Faces marked with hope blended with those filled with uncertainty. Yet in the midst of their fears, the spirit of healing began to coil tightly around them, harnessing their collective desire for change. As they lingered in prayer, a ripple of energy shifted through the crowd. Mary could almost see the manifestations of faith weaving between them, as real as the wind flitting through the branches above. Suddenly, the elder who had spoken earlier lifted his voice. "Listen," he said, his tone ringing with authority. "The world pushes us to doubt. We question what's possible, but listen to the stillness. There lies our answer." Mary felt a thrill surge within her at his words. The crowd stirred, eyes glimmering with a newfound openness. Those once hesitant began to understand that they were not merely participants, but co-creators of this divine moment. Each story had chipped away at the walls of isolation that had separated them for so long. With shared burdens came shared strength. A younger man, Adam, stepped forward. His voice trembled. "I have battled the shadow of addiction for years. I thought I was beyond help." He looked around, vulnerability radiating from him. "But after hearing all of you, I feel a spark, a flicker of hope. Is it possible to be free?" Mary felt that same current of doubt rise again. A whisper tugged at her heart. Was it fair to promise healing that seemed at the edges of belief? Yet she heard the small voice again, now louder. "It is possible." As Adam shared how he had felt stranded in his battles, a silence tightened around them, almost sacred. Mary noticed nods of recognition ripple through the crowd. They understood his pain. They too had wrestled in nights filled with despair. Eliana stepped closer to Adam, her expression emboldened by the truth she'd found. "You're not alone in this fight. Faith is the bridge. Let's walk it together." The crowd reacted, faces lighting up with hope, applauding as Adam took a step forward. Mary's heart lifted as she witnessed yet another layer of love unfolding amongst them. There was power in the unity brewing within that gathering. It was like the first buds of spring, peeking through the remnants of winter, yearning for the sunlight. Mary realized that perhaps her uncertainty was a stepping stone toward something greater. Then, with a sudden gust, the winds began to shift more dramatically, as if the very breath of heaven was exhaling upon them. Boughs swayed with fervor, and Mary's pulse quickened. Something was on the brink of breaking through. The stirring in the atmosphere was tangible, a divine promise waiting to be fulfilled. "Let us speak out our truths, together," Mary encouraged, emboldened by the energy pulsating around them. "What lies in our hearts that needs releasing?" A chorus of voices emerged, rising like a prayer from the depths of their souls. Confessions, hopes, and fears poured out, crashing into one another. Mary felt each word echo a release. People unburdening what they had clung onto for so long, allowing the light to penetrate the crevices of their fears. The air shimmered with sincerity. Yet amid this eruption of faith, Mary caught her breath. When a series of dark clouds rolled across the horizon, a deeper recognition settled in. Powerful change often attracts its shadows. The struggle, the unknown, loomed just out of reach like an unfinished puzzle. She felt the mounting intensity, and the crowd was still, hearts thumping in anticipation, each individual anchored in their own experience, yet united by one purpose. It felt like the moments before dawn, when the wilderness tells of a new beginning but has yet to reveal the brilliance that follows. What awaited them through the veil of uncertainty? Would they be strong enough to face the storms together? Could they embrace the healing that was now beginning to pulse at the edges of their reality? The answers awaited, waiting to be spoken into existence. The murmurs of the crowd began to settle, each heart racing with the shared urgency of the moment. Mary's gaze shifted toward the elder, who stood steady like an ancient tree in the face of a tempest. His presence radiated confidence, and she couldn't shake the feeling that he knew something profound was about to reveal itself. "Friends," he began, his voice weaving through the stillness, "what we face now is but a shadow of the hope we hold. Shadows cannot exist without light, and we are here to be that light." The spirited energy surged again as people nodded and breathed deeply, allowing his words to seep into their souls. Mary felt her own heart expand, an echoing truth deep within her. The thoughts where she had faltered just moments ago began to dissolve, replaced by an insistent urge to speak. "We have faced storms before," she said, her voice stronger now, "and they have shaped us. We should not fear the gale. We can rise above it, together." As she spoke, the wind shifted directions, whipping strands of hair across her face, stirring the leaves like applause for their collective courage. The ominous clouds remained, yet their presence seemed less a threat than an invitation to greater faith. Adam stood taller, his eyes blazing with newfound resolve. "What if we prayed not only for ourselves but for each other? We stand at the threshold of a change that could weave through our lives. What if grace can shower down on all of us, not just one?" The crowd reacted, their voices rising in agreement. Soon, hands reached out to one another, and an unbroken chain formed where souls joined in a divine tapestry. Mary felt something shift in the air, like the weight of the world being slowly lifted from broad shoulders. It was as if they breathed as one, pulling from each other's strength. Just then a woman, Sylvia, stepped forward, her voice quivering but fierce. "I had given up on my marriage and on myself. But standing here, surrounded by all of you, I'm reminded that hope can reignite love. Let us surrender our fears and replace them with faith." With each moment, the connection blossomed, and Mary could see the sunlight breaking through the dark clouds above. It felt like a tender embrace enveloping them, and they all lifted their faces skyward, welcoming the warmth that was seeping into their collective spirit. The elder raised his hands and the crowd followed suit, palms turned upwards. "Let us invite healing into our hearts, into our pain, as we pray together, brothers and sisters. Whatever burden you bear, leave it here today. We are a vessel for something greater." His voice was like a river flowing with grace and assurance. And in an instant, as if the heavens themselves could not stand idly by, a crackle of light burst through the clouds. A beam illuminated the gathering, and gasps filled the air, each person feeling it wash over them like a divine saltwater breeze. Mary felt warm tears brim in her eyes. It was as if the heavens whispered secrets of peace just for them, but deep within, uncertainty flickered, battling against the undeniable joy. Could they truly hold this light? Would it last beyond the sacred moment? As they stood awash in grace, Mary felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Eliana, her radiant smile illuminating her face. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" she murmured. "Yes," Mary breathed, warmed by the thought. "But what is next? What will this healing call us to do?" A hush fell, pages still turning in the book of their lives, waiting for the next chapter. Each heart pulsed in unison, aware of the divine weaving before them. What awaited them on the other side of this light? What ignited purpose lay hidden within the promise they now clung to? The answers gently beckoned, tantalizingly close. With the sun now piercing fully through the clouds, the air shimmered with expectation. It felt electric, as though angels danced above them, anticipating what was to come. A holy hush enveloped the gathering. Every heartbeat resonated with grace. The elder's eyes sparkled as he turned to face the crowd, igniting the embers of hope in each soul. This light we feel is not merely a moment. It is a calling. We have tasted the sweetness of divine love. Now we must carry that flame into the world. The healing we seek begins here, but it doesn't end here. The murmurs of agreement became a chorus, lifting spirits higher. Mary squeezed Eliana's hand, feeling the warmth radiate between them. This bond was woven through whispered prayers and shared burdens, forged in the crucible of faith. One man standing at the fringes of the gathering stepped forward hesitantly. His name was Jacob, a quiet man often hidden in the shadows. I've struggled with despair for so long, he spoke, his voice wavering. I thought I was beyond help, beyond hope. But today I feel different. I feel grace, The crowd encouraged him with nods and murmured affirmations. Slowly, a light began to dawn in Jacob's eyes, as if he were awakening from a long, weary sleep. Mary could hardly contain her tears. This was what they had prayed for, real transformation, strewn among them like fallen petals from a sacred bloom. Let us bear witness to Jacob's courage, the elder proclaimed, clasping his hands together. In countless ways, our stories intertwine. Each of our struggles adds weight to our shared spirit. As the elder began to pray once more, his voice grew in fervor. Lord, we lift each other up, not only our own past but the burdens of those around us. We ask for healing to flow from our very beings. You are the wellspring of hope. Let it pour forth. Mary felt the gravity of the moment. Each prayer was a ripple in the still waters of their lives, sending waves of faith outward. She closed her eyes, joining her voice with the rising tide. In the silence, she heard whispers of love and promises dancing through her mind. Could it be true? Lord, let us be vessels for healing, not just in this space, but all who cross our paths. In that moment of shared vulnerability and strength, a beautiful peace washed over the gathering again. Laughter mingled with tears, and the air shimmered with an invisible thread binding every heartbeat together. Mary sensed the Spirit moving, stirring the hearts of those around her to act, to serve, to love. Eliana leaned close, her voice a whisper. Do you feel it, Mary? There's something more going on here, something we have yet to discover. This light, it's not just for us, it's a beacon for others. Mary nodded, her heart swelling. They had become part of something larger than themselves. The healing had indeed begun, but what would its path lead them to? Would they, through their stories, ignite hope in others? It was like standing at the brink of a vast ocean of possibility, the waves frothing with opportunities unheard, yet unmistakably felt. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky with strokes of crimson and gold, a gentle breeze flickered through the trees above. Somehow, Mary felt it whisper a question into her spirit. Are you ready to step forward, into the unknown, bearing the light of healing and hope? The anticipation hung heavy in the air, each person sensing the promise of a new journey. What awaited them beyond this pivotal moment? What new purpose would be revealed when they answered the call? As the last rays of sunlight glimmered through the branches, a palpable energy filled the gathering. The atmosphere pulsed with potential, crackling like the first stirrings of a storm. Jacob, standing at the forefront, looked around at the faces that had once seemed strangers but now felt like family. Each glance held stories of struggle and victory, trials and triumphs. The elder's voice returned, steadying the moment with a gentle cadence. Now is the time, dear friends. Let us share the burdens that still weigh down our hearts. Speak your pain, for in the light of togetherness, healing is possible. One by one, others began to rise, whispering their own confessions. There was Ruth, who had fought a long battle with loneliness. There was Marcus, grappling with the ache of personal loss. Each shared tear dripped into the sacred well of their collective spirit, fueling the bond that only grows stronger through vulnerability. Mary felt a stirring rise within her. It was as if something deep inside was calling her to respond. I too have held grief closely, she began, voice trembling but resolute. But today I know that grief does not have to define us. it can be transformed into compassion for others. I urge you all to embrace your stories, not as chains that bind you, but as threads that knit us together in love. There was a murmur of agreement that swept through the crowd, fueled by the courage shared in that sacred moment. Eliana's eyes sparkled with understanding. Yes, let your pain be the seed for something greater. Just as spring flowers bloom after winter's chill, so can our past become fertile ground for new life. As if summoned by their words, a soft wind swept through the gathering, carrying the scent of blooming jasmine and sweet grass. It wrapped around them like an embrace. Eleanor raised her arms to the skies. Let's feel this presence. It's the same breath that ignited our hope. It's the spirit saying, rise, step into your destiny. With that declaration, laughter erupted, breaking the seriousness of their confessions now mingled with hope. Mary looked around, seeing the light reflected in the eyes of her friends. Could it be that healing was not only for them, but for everyone they would touch? Then, as if the heavens had opened, something extraordinary happened. Light began to pour in from above, illuminating the gathering. The crowd gasped as the glow intensified, cascading over them like a warm waterfall. Jacob's eyes widened with awe, and in that moment he lifted his hands skyward, inviting others to join him. We are called, each of us, he cried out, his voice buoyed by newfound confidence. Mary's heart raced. Right there, enveloped by divine light, she understood their mission: to be beacons for the lost, to shine brightly amid the shadows, to heal, to love, and spread this radiant warmth far and wide beyond their little gathering. Yet, amid the joy, a question surfaced in Mary's heart. What are we meant to do next? It echoed through her thoughts, punctuating the beauty of the moment with a sense of urgency. The elder stood still, eyes closed, seemingly attuned to a divine presence. He took a deep breath, then spoke with a tone both gentle and powerful. Now, we must decide. Are we ready to journey forth as conduits of His grace? Do we dare to extend this light into the hearts of those waiting beyond our walls? Mary's heart raced anew. There was so much more at stake. What awaited them outside that sacred circle? What challenges, what blessings would they encounter as they stepped boldly into this promise? The gathering stood on the precipice of destiny, and the next chapter of their journey beckoned. As the sun dipped low, trailing hues of orange and pink across the horizon, Mary felt the weight of the world shift. The atmosphere buzzed with a palpable energy, and the river nearby seemed to join their chorus, babbling insistently. The crowd, full of hope and wonder, leaned into the moment, anticipation suspended in the air like a gentle breeze that beckoned them into the unknown. With trembling hands, Mary felt the calling grow stronger. "Dear friends," she said, her voice steady and resolute, "we stand at the threshold of something remarkable. We've tasted divine healing. Now it's time to share that healing beyond Alderwood, to spread this warmth and light to truly fulfill our purpose." Excited murmurs rippled through the crowd, their hearts igniting at her words. "But how do we start?" a familiar voice called out from the back. It was Peter, his brow furrowed but eyes shining bright with possibility. Mary smiled, her spirit lifted. "We create a movement, a caravan of hope. We go door to door, reaching out, sharing our stories, our testimonies, offering love and prayer to friends and strangers alike. Let them feel the light we found." Cheers erupted in response, the sound rising and mingling with the cooling breeze. The elder glanced at her, a knowing glimmer in his eyes. "Yes, but remember, it's not just about words. It's about actions. Show them love through deeds. Service will be the bridge to their hearts." Mary nodded, a plan forming vividly in her mind. "We can host gatherings in neighboring towns, invite them to share their burdens, listen to their struggles, and offer community. This is our calling, to cultivate an environment of healing across the land." As confidence swelled within her heart, Mary turned to the crowd. "Who is with me? Who will join in this divine calling?" A wave of hands shot up, willing souls ready to embark on this mission. "We'll pray together, hear one another's stories, and take this love beyond our walls," Eliana added, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. That electric anticipation grew, soaring high, connected to something bigger than themselves. Let us make this vision a reality, a journey where we cultivate hope, Mary called out with fervor, and the crowd responded with thunderous applause. Here in Alderwood, they transformed from a gathering into a movement. The following days burst into vibrant reality. They organized prayer walks through the village, neighbors embraced one another, and small groups formed to share meals that were both nourishing and sacred. Each gathering brought new faces, those weary souls seeking solace who felt the tug of something greater. One afternoon, as they stood together at the heart of Alderwood, a boy approached Mary, clutching a frayed teddy bear. "I feel sad," he whispered, eyes wide with innocence and pain. The rush of compassion surged within her. "Come here," she beckoned, kneeling to meet his gaze. "You are never alone. We are here for you and will help you find joy again." In that moment, the dam of discomfort broke, spilling warmth and love into every crack and crevice of their village. Mary became a beacon, embracing the sad, the lonely, and the lost. Together, shoulders joined and spirits intertwined, they began to stitch their community back together. Weeks melded into months, and the light spread outward, transforming lives far beyond Alderwood. Villages once secluded in despair turned into vibrant havens for the healing spirit. The stories radiated, rolling like waves that washed across hearts, kindling flames of hope. But as they built and served, the stranger from days past appeared one evening, his presence suffused with peace. He approached Mary, his smile deep and knowing. "You've done well, but remember, greater challenges await. This journey is not for the faint of heart. Miracles unfold, yet shadows remain." Mary's spirit changed, excitement intertwined with solemnity. "What do you mean?" she asked, addressing the depths of her unease. "Faith is tested by the weight of trials. You will encounter resistance, doubt, and fears unseen. Stay true to what you've built," he replied. And at that moment, their journey felt more profound, standing with purpose beneath the vast sky. Through trials ahead and the challenges they would face together, unease would rise and fall. But they had woven a tapestry of healing from their past. They were no longer a collection of souls. They had become a collective heart, a source of light, rooted in faith. As the wind whispered prophecies of future winds to come, the light of healing burned brightly within them. Mary knew they would confront shadowy moments, but above all, they had found their calling, the strength to love, and the courage to share it forward. And so, the story of Alderwood, now alive with purpose, remained just that, a beginning. With arms and hearts wide open, they all felt the divine pull to serve one another, to face each shadow together. Their miracle was just the prologue. The journey ahead shimmered with endless possibilities, like an invitation from heaven to step boldly into the unknown, fueled by faith, love, and shared stories of transformation. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread this message. Comment below your reactions and testimonies about this heartfelt ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Your actions can change lives.